When you think of Steve Jobs, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably the black turtleneck, right? The iconic image. But he was so much more complicated than that. In this explainer, we're going to dig into the real story, how the man actually became the myth. This quote, this is pure Steve Jobs. I mean, it's from the Think Different campaign, but it wasn't just some marketing line. It was his whole philosophy, right? He wasn't just selling you a computer. He was selling this idea of rebellion, the idea that a few really passionate people could actually, make a dent in the universe. And that's really the big question, isn't it? How does a college dropout, a guy who was known for being, well, notoriously difficult, become the tech icon of our time? His story, it's not a straight line at all. It's full of contradictions. You've got this Zen simplicity mixed with this brutal intensity, epic failures, and then the greatest comeback story in business history. So, let's start at the beginning. His journey kicks off with all these experiences that are just completely outside the box of corporate America. And you know what? That turned out to be his greatest strength. Okay, so look at all these seemingly random things. They all weave together to make the person he became. Being adopted made him feel like an outsider, and that just fueled this incredible drive to prove himself. Then you have his trip to India and his study of Zen. That's where his obsession with simplicity comes from. And dropping out of college? That actually freed him up to drop in on a calligraphy class. And he later said that was the reason the Macintosh had such beautiful fonts. It was always about that fusion of art and technology for him. But here's the thing. He absolutely did not do it alone. His partnership with Steve Wozniak, that was the essential yin and yang of Apple. Woz was this brilliant, kind of gentle engineering genius who could just pull off technical miracles. And Jobs, he was the intense visionary who knew exactly how to package that genius and sell it to the world. And wow, did they rise fast. It was meteoric. They went from these hobbyist meetings at the Homebrew Computer Club to launching a full-blown company. Jobs actually sold his VW bus to help fund it. The Apple II was a huge success. It turned them from a couple of guys tinkering in a garage into millionaires. But the Macintosh was Jobs' baby. That was the computer he really believed was going to change everything. Yeah, this quote says it all. For Jobs and his Mac team, who literally flew a pirate flag over their building, by the way, this was a crusade. It wasn't just about building a better box. He pushed them relentlessly, day and night, to create something insanely great. And this is really the core of his famous reality distortion field, this incredible ability to convince people that the impossible was totally possible. But that same fire, that intensity that drove all that innovation, well, it also created a ton of friction. His vision was completely uncompromising, and honestly, so was his personality. And that led to one of the most dramatic twists in his entire story. Fired, just like that. In 1985, Steve Jobs was forced out of Apple, out of the company he co-founded in his garage. The board, and get this, the CEO he himself had recruited with that legendary line, "Do you want to sell sugared water for the rest of your life?" They sided against him. The founder was now an exile. Sounds brutal, right? But a lot of people, like early investor Arthur Rock, actually believed this was a necessary wake-up call. His time away from Apple, it was gonna be this period of huge learning, but it wouldn't be defined by success. It would be defined by a series of, well, brilliant failures. So during these so-called wilderness years, he learned some really hard lessons. He started a company called Next. The computer was a technological masterpiece, an absolute gem, but it was a commercial flop. Then there was Pixar. He bought it from Lucasfilm, but it was just burning through his money. It was on the brink of total failure right before Toy Story came out and changed animation forever. See, he wasn't the golden boy anymore. He actually had to learn how to manage a budget, how to compromise, how to work with partners. And it was those lessons that set the stage for maybe the most astonishing comeback in the history of modern business. Because while Jobs was out in the wilderness, Apple had completely lost its way. It was bloated, totally unfocused, and literally just months away from going bankrupt. So in a move of pure desperation, Apple bought Next, mostly for its software, and in doing so, they brought their founder back home. And his return was absolutely electrifying. As the new interim CEO, he acted with just stunning speed. He slashed the product line. He shocked everyone by making a deal with his arch-rival Bill Gates, and he refocused the entire company on just making a few products, but making them exceptionally well. And at the absolute core of it all, design. And what came next? I mean, it was just an unbelievable, unprecedented string of hits, one after another. The iMac saved the company, the iPod, then the iPhone, and then the iPad. These things didn't just create new markets, they completely redefined our entire relationship with technology itself. Even his biggest rival for decades, Bill Gates, had to admit there was something special about Jobs. He said it wasn't just about the engineering, it wasn't about market research. It was this intuitive, almost magical sense of taste, this uncanny ability to understand what people wanted before they even knew they wanted it. So, what's his lasting impact? What's the legacy? It's so much more than just a bunch of hit products. It's really a set of powerful ideas about how to build things, how to run a company, and how to blend technology with creativity. Which brings us back to this famous concept, his reality distortion field. This was his superpower. It could be absolutely infuriating to people who worked for him, but it was also the tool he used to push his teams to do the impossible. Shaving a few seconds off a computer's boot up time, or figuring out how to fit all that tech into an impossibly thin case. And this created a really unique and, let's be honest, often paradoxical culture at Apple. He was famous for his brutal, right-to-your-face honesty, but he believed that was the price you paid to do great work. His goal was to create a company of only A players, because he truly believed that the best people thrive on that kind of directness. They want to be surrounded by others who are just as talented and just as driven. And all of this really boils down to his core philosophy. These are the big takeaways. That technology alone is never enough. It has to be married with the humanities, with art. That real artists simplify, they don't just add more features. That focus is really about saying no to 1,000 good ideas so you can pursue that one great one. And that the ultimate goal isn't just to make a product, but to build a company that lasts. In his final years, as he was facing his own mortality, Jobs reflected on what might come next. And in this moment of just stunning insight, he connected his deepest thoughts about life and death right back to his design philosophy. He said maybe death is like an on-off switch. Click, and you're gone. And then he added, maybe that's why I never like to put on-off switches on Apple devices. So we're left with this question. Was he a genius or a tyrant? The truth is he was probably both. But when you look at the dent he left in the universe, the devices in all of our hands, the industries he completely reshaped, the standards he set for everyone else, maybe the more important question is, could he have been one without also being the other? And that is his complex and enduring legacy.